What is up, everybody? It's your boy Hawk, and welcome back. I haven't said that in a long time to another episode of Hawk's Hoops. It's been a minute. I don't think I've turned this camera on since January. I'm going to blame it on Joel Embiid. Joel went down with his injury, and I stopped making content. But Joel's back. I'm back. Got a lot that I don't want to talk about over the next couple of days. Going into the playoffs, we're like 3-4 games for most teams, and then playoffs start next Saturday. But with Joel Embiid now back, I want to talk about what that changes for the Sixers, what that could mean for the Sixers, and what I've thought over Joel over his first 3 games since he's been back from his surgery. If you forgot, Joel Embiid hasn't played the last 29 games. He had surgery on his, I want to say, right meniscus back in February. And up until that point, in my mind and in most people's minds, Joel Embiid was on his way to back-to-back MVPs if he continued along the stretch that he was doing. The whole month of December, I believe, he didn't have a game where he scored less than 30 points. He had that 70-point game, had a bunch of 50-point games, had some 40-point games involved there. Like, he was dominant on both sides of the ball up until his surgery. While Joel was out, the Sixers made moves to bring in guys like Cam Payne, Kyle Lowry, and Buddy Hield. And so it's been interesting these last couple of games to see how these pieces would fit, because on paper, especially a guy like Buddy Hield, and we'll talk about him a little bit more in a second, I thought those were good moves to add to this team if Joel Embiid is playing. But all that being said, let me get into what I thought in these first couple of games. So first game against OKC, SGA is not playing, Jalen Williams, J-Dub is not playing. I wanted to see how Joel moved. That's all I really wanted to see. I wanted to see what his movement was like, how in shape he was, how fast he could get up and down the court, how long they were going to play him in terms of his not necessarily overall time on the court, but like how long were his stretches going to be? Are we going to see 5-minute stretches? Or are we going to see 9-minute stretches? How much time is he going to get on the court? And he looked good, all things considered. I thought he looked well in that first game. There was definitely some rust. Some of his shots were short. He didn't have his legs under him in a couple of shots, but in the same breath, he was still taking and going for the shots that he normally goes for. He was getting to his mid-range pull-ups. He was attacking the basket, trying to get to the free throw line. I want to say it was either the OKC game or the Miami game. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he actually, I think it was the OKC game, ended the game on some game-winning free throws, which kind of gave us the lead at the end there. So he was going for what he normally does. Second game, Miami, it was a more dynamic game. It had way more energy to it because also Maxey was back. So this was Maxey and Joel's first game together since back in January. And Maxey got active right away, scored, I want to say, the Sixers' first 10 points. Sixers got off into a 10-0 lead. And Maxey was a big part of that in that first quarter. We instantly saw why before the injury, Maxey and Joel were the highest scoring duo in the NBA. A lot of dribble handoffs, a lot of pick and roll, pick and pop situations between Maxey and Embiid working together. Maxey had the 3-ball just rolling, to be honest with you. Step backs, pulling up in transition. He had the shot going early. I like that the chemistry between Maxey and Embiid was there back instantly, basically. We saw more of the high-low action between Batum and Embiid that most Sixers fans fell in love with throughout most of the season. You get Batum gets the ball in the high post, Embiid sets that back seal, and he just lobs over the top for easy bucket for Embiid. And I think Embiid looked better in this game on the defensive side of the ball. The offense was still there. The offense was still rolling. I was excited to see how well he looked on the offensive side of the ball going against a guy like Bam, and the Heat just a team known for good defensive schemes. But offensive side of the ball, he looked good. But on the defensive side, he started to look more like himself. He was challenging shots. He was blocking shots at the rim. He was trying to defend the basket. He was putting his body on the line, trying to get steals. He was active on the defensive side of the ball. Third game against Memphis, I didn't get a chance to watch this game. I was out. I wasn't home, but I watched some highlights this morning, and I really just wanted to focus on, and what stood out to me in the highlights was the shots were falling, was they were no longer short on some of these shots, that the confidence was there on a lot of these dribble pull-ups that we know he loves at the free throw line. The footwork was there in terms of the post work, and the footwork was there in terms of his ability to put the ball on the floor, that little between the leg dribble he likes to do, a little bit above the free throw line to try to bait the defender and to see if he's going to drive or give up the shot. The footwork in general looked really good. Like I said, I didn't watch that whole game, so I don't know how well he looked in terms of conditioning wise, but the shots not being short, and yes, it was against the Memphis Grizzlies, the team that's going with a lot of injuries, I understand. But I'm just saying in terms of the shots not being short lead me to believe that the conditioning is getting better, because if he was tired, a lot of those shots would be short. I think in general, having Joel Embiid back on the court frees up and relieves obviously a lot of the pressure from the role players, but it allows those role players to get back to playing in their role. We talked about Nicholas Batum earlier. His impact and what he brings to the court I think it's felt more when Joel's on the floor because he's one of the guys who's almost always looking to try to feed Joel some easy buckets. I want to talk about Buddy Hield though, because he was a guy who, when the Sixers made the move to acquire him, yes, he's on the last year of his deal, and when there was some hope that Joel might be back sooner than he was, Buddy Hield is like the perfect guy in theory, I think, to play alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Defensively, no, he's not anything amazing, but his ability to stretch the floor historically over the last couple of seasons, after, you know, some elite guys like maybe like Steph, Clay when he's hot, like Buddy Hield, looking at his percentages and looking at the clip that he was shooting at, he was one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Now, since he's been a Sixer, it's been a little up and down. He had a stretch when he first got there. His first 4 games, he scored 20 plus. But then since then, you'll have a couple of stretches where it's like 12, 15, 17 points. And then the next like 3 games, you might see 7, 9, 8, 2. Like it's been very inconsistent with Buddy since he's been here. I'm hoping, it's hard to hope this, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, but in theory and on paper, if this is 2K, the thought is with the addition of Joel being able to bring some of that gravity, teams have to decide who they want to send a double off of, or do you let Joel kill you? And the thought is, since Joel has been more patient in the post and has been a better passer out of the post this season and passing out of double teams this season, Buddy will be able to get some easier looks, especially coming off of screens of Joel, because the defender's going to have to decide if they want to send 2 to Joel as a screener or let Buddy fly open for a 3. Like, it just opens a lot more wrinkles with a guy as talented as Joel Embiid on the court. And I hope that translates for Buddy Hield. And I'm harping, I think, on Buddy a lot, because if he's shooting well, like I know and we've seen him shoot over the last couple of seasons, that can be a really dangerous weapon if you have a guy like him who can really spark from 3. But with only 3 games left in the regular season, not including tonight's game against the Spurs as I'm recording this, we'll have to see. I don't know what the Sixers are going to look like in the playoffs, and that leads me to, what does Joel Embiid being back do for the Sixers in the playoffs? As you can see right now, the Sixers are the 8th seed. They would go in the play-in game against the Miami Heat, and then if they win, they play against the Bucks. If they lose, they go against, probably the Celtics in the first round. Personally, if we look at the standings, if we just take a look at the standings, the Sixers are a couple of games behind the Pacers. In a perfect world, I would love the Sixers to be able to get to that 3 spot. However, Indiana's rolling right now. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. Their upcoming schedule isn't anything crazy, if I'm being honest with you. They play the Raptors and they play the Hawks. Both of those games I expect them to win. And they also play the Cavs, which is, I'm not saying I expect them to win that game, but it is a winnable game. They can finish out the season 3-0, and no, the Sixers don't get the 6th seed. So I'm not banking on the Sixers getting the 6th seed. But so we're looking at that Miami Heat game and the play-in. The Sixers did just beat Miami a couple days ago, and it was a good game. You're going into that series with the Bucks and you see what happens. I personally would rather play the Bucks over the Celtics. No offense to the Bucks, I just think the Celtics are the better team out of the 2. And right now, the Celtics have an identity for what they want to do. The Bucks have been better over the last couple of weeks. We know they had the tumultuous season, but if I had to stack up who I wanted to play in the first round, I don't want either. But if I have to pick one, I'll take the Bucks. I'm excited to see what happens in the playoffs, even though we're not going to be at 100%. Having Joel is better than not having Joel. If you want me to be completely honest with you, it's going to sound delusional because I know I say this every year, but going into the season before the injury, I thought we had a really good shot of finally making it past the second round. Now, if that doesn't happen, doesn't happen this year, it's honestly going to be for some of the same excuses and reasons as last year. Joel Embiid was, depending on how well he played, depending on if the injury bothers him, and then also Joel's not got to get used to playing with those new guys we just mentioned, Buddy Hield, Campaign, like those guys weren't there before. This team does look slightly different than it did when he went down with his injury. A couple of things that do give me optimism though is Maxey and Joel's chemistry looking great immediately. I'm excited to see what Nick Nurse does with his team in the playoffs. I've liked how the offense has been run for most of the season, and I'm curious to see when he goes up against playoff style basketball, what adjustments he's going to make. Overall, I'm optimistic, to be honest with you. That's just my personality though. I'm an optimistic person by nature. I won't be devastated if we get knocked out early. And the reality of it is Joel's going to have 6 games max to get ready for playoff level basketball before playoffs start. 6 games, that's it. So I'll enjoy watching him play. I'll be cheering, of course. And I'm excited to see him back on the court because honestly, whether or not you appreciate how well he gets to the foul line, him on the court is one of the best players to watch in the game, in my mind. So if you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I plan on making some more videos later this week. I have a lot of ideas and thoughts in my head. I just gotta press record and make them. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.